The twin moons of Lunarith Prime did not simply rise. They orchestrated a celestial waltz, painting the silver plains in overlapping shadows that moved with the intent of living things. Queen Thalera stood upon the resonance balcony, a solitary figure amidst a symphony of celebration. Below, her people danced, their bioluminescent skin pulsing in patterns older than human history, while the living crystal palace behind her sang in harmony with the planet's core. Yet Thalera's own light was dim, a flickering ghost of gold. It had been 7 orbital cycles since Princess Saren vanished, 7 years of bureaucratic euphemisms that labeled her indefinitely delayed rather than dead. In the narratives of power, we often find that silence is the preferred shroud for grief. The Remembrance Circle had prepared an empty seat, a polite surrender to loss. But the universe has a way of interrupting despair with chaos. Reality seemed to hiccup as harmonic sensors screamed, and the celebration stuttered to a halt. A vessel, battered and weeping hydraulic fluid, descended upon the forbidden sacred plains. It was an ancient transport class, its hull patched with agricultural sealant, landing with the kind of controlled disaster that human pilots mistake for style. Thalera watched, her heart hammering against the silence of the palace. The ramp groaned down, revealing a figure that stopped the queen's world entirely. Saren. Not in royal braids, but in a flight jacket that read Frontier Freight, looking at the stunned assembly with a terrifyingly casual grace. "I'm guessing this is a bad time," she deadpanned. Beside her stood a human male, David Warren, a xenobotanist wearing a smile etched by years of survival. He offered an awkward wave to the armed guards and the glowing palace. "Sorry about the lawn," he offered, a frantic attempt at diplomacy regarding the sacred silver plains that nearly sent the royal advisor, Meters, into cardiac arrest. But the true shock was not the return, nor the husband. It was the missile-like arrival of a 5-year-old boy named Kai. He skidded to a stop, eyes holding both earth-warm brown and Lunarian gold, demanding to know if the singing house truly sang. Behind him, 7-year-old Lyra watched with the cautious intelligence of a seasoned traveler. These children were walking, talking refutations of 17 peer-reviewed papers on genetic incompatibility. They were impossibilities made flesh. The reunion moved into the crystalline halls, where the air was thick with questions and the harmonics of disbelief. Saren explained the crash, the desperate rescue, and the accidental romance born of a research expedition into cross-pollination. David admitted, with the sheepishness of a scientist caught in a variable he didn't predict, that he had fallen catastrophically in love. "We're very popular at xenobiology conferences," he joked, noting that their children were a bridge between species that shouldn't exist. Dinner was a study in chaotic adaptation. Kai ate a volatile mixture of human rations and Lunarian nutrients, a necessary balance to prevent his skin from flickering uncontrollably or broadcasting emotional distress signals, a lesson learned the hard way on a trading station. Lyra, careful and precise, admitted she once turned partially invisible when her diet lacked balance. "Are these my grandchildren?" Thalera asked, the question fragile in the glowing room. Kai beamed, his skin flushing gold. "The math works," he confirmed, echoing his father. "But peace is rarely bought without a trial." Dawn brought the High Council and the cold echo of the Chamber of Echoes. The conservative factions, led by Councillor Theon, wasted no time. They branded the children abominations, their voices repeating in the acoustic trap of the room. They spoke of pollution and the sanctity of the bloodline, clinging to the past as if it were a shield against the future. It is a familiar rhythm in history, is it not? The way established power trembles when the definition of us expands to include them. David stood his ground, projecting images of hybrid crops that survived where pure strains died. "They're not pollution," he argued, facing the court with a battered data tablet. "They're evolution." Lyra and Kai, eavesdropping with the innocent trespass of youth, entered the chamber. Kai, pointing a finger at his accuser, asked simply what an abomination was. Thalera rose then, a storm of maternal instinct and royal authority. She knelt by her grandchildren, telling them that abomination is merely a word born of fear. She forced the council to look to truly see. Kai, who tasted rocks from Kepler 442b to know their composition. Lyra, who solved quantum equations for fun. Thalera declared them heirs, fully recognized, defying centuries of isolationist law. "The universe is larger than we knew," she proclaimed, her voice carrying the harmonics of absolute command. "I choose change." The tension didn't just break. It shattered into wonder when Kai asked to grow a magic science crystal in the palace gardens. Even the stiffest opposition softened before the undeniable reality of life-seeking connection. That evening, the family stood on the balcony as the twin moons rose again. The festival below had shifted, the bioluminescent waves celebrating not just tradition, but transformation. David and Saren stood together, exhausted but home, debating when exactly she had mentioned being an empress. Thalera watched her grandchildren, Kai pressing his hands to the singing walls and Lyra analyzing the resonance. They were impossible children, glowing with hybrid light in a future that looked nothing like the past. Thalera realized that the galaxy was changing, and through the laughter of a family that defied the laws of nature, she saw that the impossible was simply destiny waiting to happen.